really need this hairstyle. Like this is a bit me. It's giving snatched. Don't you think it's giving? Don't you like that? That is so nice. Don't you think so? It's like, look at that. It's even got a bit of red. I like it. This is a bit of me. It's a bit of me. Let's do this one. Yeah, I'll pick that one. Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways, acknowledge him and he shall direct your paths. Amen. Hey guys, it's your girl Janet Davies and I'm your hair growth guide. In this video, we're going to be talking about all things alopecia. So what is alopecia? Alopecia is the scientific term for hair loss. And the causes of hair loss are honestly vast in range, but they can be summarized into 4 neat titles. So the first is traction alopecia, and this is caused by excessive and repetitive pulling and tugging through tight hairstyles, manipulation, which can ultimately cause hair loss, kind of from the intro that you guys just saw. The next is Alopecia Aretea or Aretea. It's been a while since I graduated, so please excuse my pronunciation. But alopecia, we'll just call it AA, but not the kind of AA you're thinking about. AA is an autoimmune disorder which the body's immune system actually attacks the hair follicles, causing them to be damaged and lost. And what you'll see are these characteristic circular patches of hair loss. Number 3 is male or female, because it's not gender specific, pattern hair loss. That is caused by excessive DHT, which is a much more potent form of testosterone, and it causes hair follicles to shrink and then hair loss to follow. Number 4 is Telogen Effluvium. And this is where there is a disturbance of the hair cycle, where the growth or the anagen phase slows down and the resting phase or telogen persists, and that causes excessive hair shedding. And that is typically caused through traumatic events or hormonal changes. And with all of these causes, it's important to know that early intervention is of the utmost importance, because hair loss is a lot more reversible in those early stages. And if you leave it too late, it can actually be a lot more harder to reverse. So now that we've got the tricky science out of the way, let's look into remedies. Remedies that tackle hair loss. So number 1, traction alopecia. I know we've all been there. We see this really nice Instagram hairstyle and we're like, I must have it, I must have it, I must have it. I've been there, so I understand it. Only to find ourselves at the hairdressers with our hairline literally pulled back to when Jesus was born. And that is what we call traction alopecia. Afro hair is one of the most fragile hair types in the world. So it's no surprise that excessive and repetitive pulling and tugging of this hair type can just lead to one thing: hair loss or balding. And it's just not only limited to tight hairstyles, it could be through the excessive laying of the edges, yes. So if this is you, we must stop these tight hairstyles altogether. The excessive laying of edges, it must stop, because this is the root cause of your issue. So you might have to politely tell your stylist, like, I don't want my edges to be pulled off back to when Jesus was born, leave them on my head, or just changing that. Because I've been there. When you really want to get a nice style, like you need to achieve a certain look, you want to like make sure the hair is as tight as possible, but in the long run this is just not a good thing. It's so important that we don't forsake our hairline just for a very temporary hairstyle. I'm sorry guys, I'm having a wardrobe malfunction, but let's just roll because we don't have time. Then it's not all bad news. There are ways to stimulate faster hair growth so that your road to recovery is smoother. But before I even tell you about that, you must make sure you watch this video, which is the 7 pillars to hair growth. It's something that if you don't watch that and you listen to how to boost your hair growth, it's not going to help you, quite frankly. So definitely watch that video before you hear what I'm about to say. So you want to look for products that contain ingredients that can actually penetrate the hair scalp, which is actually very hard to do. I won't go into the science into it, but ultimately you want to look for ingredients that contain essential oils, because essential oils contain compounds that can actually penetrate the scalp and stimulate hair growth. And Aminera's best-selling hair growth potion just contains essential oils, and the extra strength version does it even better, and I'll tell you why in a little while. But just look at my results in only 7 days. Through a very, very bad tight hairstyle, I was able to regrow those edges. These are my product results from using the extra strength version of the hair growth potion from Amino Naturals. So next is Alopecia Aretea. Wow, Aretea. Can anyone pronounce that, please, or is it just me? I think as I've gotten older, my mouth has become more tongue-tied. And the reason is not why you're thinking, it's just because I've gotten older. So this autoimmune disease can only really be treated if it's addressed on the onset. This kind of alopecia is very different to traction alopecia, and it's characterized by these small circular patches on the head or even parts of the body. It's not just restricted to the head, it can be all over. So these small circular patches of baldness all over the head is one of the most key signs of this kind of alopecia. So the next type of alopecia is male, female, because it's not gender specific, but we're not doing LGBT, no. I'm just saying in general, it's not gender specific in this instance, but most things are. But anyway, it's neither here or there. Male or female pattern hair loss. Did you know that women can also experience male pattern hair loss? Women tend to see a more progressive, slower thinning, whereas men tend to see more of a drastic hair loss. So let's get into the root cause of this type of hair loss, because it's not gender specific, but most things are. So it all starts with your hormones, and not the kind of anyway. Hormones are chemical messages that travel through your body, not like this, but they travel somehow. They travel in your bloodstream to target cells to communicate a message. And in the case of pattern baldness, a specific enzyme called 5-alpha reductase converts testosterone into its much more potent form, DHT, which is dihydrotestosterone, but I won't bore you with that. Let's just call it DHT. DHT actually causes the follicles around the hairline and the crown areas actually to shrink, and ultimately causes hair loss. And excess DHT can be caused by lack of sleep, aging, stress, unhealthy lifestyle, or just excessive alcohol consumption. But there are ways to actually inhibit that enzyme and prevent that excess DHT production. And this method of actually blocking or inhibiting the production of DHT is one of the many ways in which the best-selling hair growth potion extra strength from Amino Naturals actually works. But moving on to Telogen Effluvium. I'm so tongue-tied today, but leading on to Telogen Effluvium. Yes, we'll call it TE. TE is a form of hair loss that's kind of characterized by your hair thinning and a massive increase in hair shedding. It's actually seen much more in women, and it's typically triggered by the disturbance of your natural hair cycle. So if you didn't know already, our hair actually goes through a cycle through growth, resting, and being shed, which everyone has. So the hair cycle has 3 phases. It has anagen, which is the growth phase, catagen, or the transitional phase, and telogen, or the resting phase. And this TE is associated with this telogen phase. So typically, if you look at any normal person, you'll have 5 to 10% of the hair all over the head in that telogen resting phase at any one time. But with TE, or Telogen Effluvium, the anagen phase, which is the growth phase, slows down. So with this condition, about 30% of the hair strands then move into the telogen phase, which means that rapid hair shedding then occurs. And the main symptom of this TE is that you will just see so much hair falling out, and you won't really understand why. You're being very gentle, but still your hair is falling out in bucket loads. You may also find so much hair in your drain, or so much hair in your comb or your brush, more than usual. You might even find some on your pillowcase. And the causes of this TE are severe stress, prolonged periods of stress. Sometimes hair loss can occur 3 months after a very stressful event. Poor diet. Hair, as we've discussed before on this channel, requires nutrients to grow. So if you have a poor diet, that can actually trigger hair loss. If you have sudden weight loss, or if you have consistent chronic calorie restriction, such as in anorexia, that can cause Telogen Effluvium. Another one is pregnancy or childbirth, one I'm all too familiar with. The hormonal changes that occur 3 to 6 months after giving birth can actually cause this hair shedding and hair loss. Menopause can be a driver. Certain prescription drugs can be a driver for this. Underlying health conditions can be a cause of this also, such as thyroid gland issues. Even surgery, depending on the kind of surgery you have, it can cause this also. Another cause of this is actually metal toxicity, in which someone can actually come into contact with a toxic metal and it can actually cause hair loss. This is a very weird one that I didn't even think about, but it's actually a cause. But what Big Pharma doesn't want you to know is that there are genuinely natural remedies that can actually stimulate and heal the loss of hair. And one of the biggest ways that I've genuinely loved is using Ayurvedic herbs. Ayurvedic herbs have the ability to heal and tackle hair loss. So Ayurveda is an age-old Indian tradition, and it's a system of kind of holistic well-being and medicine. Ayurveda is derived from the Sanskrit words Aya, which means life, and Veda, which means science or knowledge. So Ayurveda literally means knowledge of life. And as I've said before, healthy hair is a sign of overall good health. Ayurvedic herbs have the ability to tackle and heal a lot of these causes of hair loss. They provide much more natural and safer remedies than typical things that may be prescribed. And a lot of these herbs that I'm going to actually mention and go into detail are actually in a lot of the products that we sell at Amino Natural. At Amino, we use kind of a combination of Ayurvedic herbs and also oils, because I do genuinely believe that God has given us medicine in our natural environment to tackle hair loss in ways that we cannot even imagine. It's just up to us to tap into it. So one of the herbs that I genuinely do love is Amla. Amla is a great herb because it works to inhibit that stupid enzyme 5-alpha reductase and prevents that excessive production of DHT that causes that female and pattern hair loss. It increases the number of hair follicles. It actually thickens the hair follicles. Another herb is Aritha or Aritha. I may be butchering the names of this because obviously I'm not Indian, I'm a black lady, but Aritha is also a very great herb because it's rich in a lot of vitamins like A, E, D, and K, and these help in nourishing the hair strands, making them stronger, making them shinier. Another herb is Ashwagandha. That stimulates hair growth, it stimulates scalp circulation, it strengthens the hair strands, and it improves hair growth. It also prevents premature graying, which is a fun fact because it increases the production of melanin, which is the pigment obviously involved in hair color. Brahmi is another great herb because it strengthens the hair follicles and it prevents hair loss. I definitely won't bore you with me just listing out all these different herbs, but I will list them also on the page and also in the description and in a pinned comment, but definitely check these herbs out below. But without further ado, this is probably the end of the video because I've been speaking for a long time, and hopefully you guys have learned something to look after yourself, not only physically but mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. Hair loss can be caused by so many different factors that you may not even be thinking of. Having a stressful event in life can cause hair loss, so that's why it's so important to look after yourself, especially if you've had children. Even if you don't have children, looking after yourself should be a priority for anyone, not only just because of hair but because you are deserving to be loved and to be looked after. So I've been Janet, you guys have been amazing, and I'll catch you in the next video. If you do have any more tips or any kind of videos that you want me to be covering, then definitely leave them in the comments and I'll be sure to have a look. But thank you guys, bye for now.